Bigger than capes.
Give me some sadness.
Yeah, I was looking forward to it, and then I watched it.
Oh, right.
Hello, welcome to Bigger Than Capes. I'm Zach. This is our monthly roundup, and I'm joined by Angela, Will, and Matt.
Howdy.
Hello.
Hey.
So, how's everybody been? It's been a week, and I'm sure some things have happened for all of us.
Oh boy, my life has changed immeasurably in the last week. I have done nothing.
Yay!
My life's gotten immeasurably worse because Kentaro Miura died, and that's made me incredibly sad. But
It is sad news.
I've also read a ton of One Piece again to cope with that. Because I'm basically doing an eternal reread of Berserk at any point anyway. So I'm about to hit Wano for anyone who's following my One Piece progress.
Do you recommend One Piece as a piece of sort of grief counselling fiction?
Kinda.
Yeah.
It's a good
I can
escape.
imagine a grief counsellor just saying, "Have you tried One Piece?"
It's a good escape from the reality of things. And just good. Just makes me angry. Makes me angry that it's good because I spent so long not being able to get into it. That I'm just like, well, I guess I wasted my life. I'm just like, I begrudge it being good.
So replacing grief with anger, basically.
Yes, I'm rapidly going through the stages.
Of becoming a Sith.
I'll hit bargaining pretty soon. How about you, Angela? Anything good?
There's nothing good in this world at the moment. It's just, the 2021 was going to be better than 2020.
Promises were made.
Yeah, I have yet to see the proof of this, to be quite honest. But I've got a good feeling about 2028, so I'm holding out for that.
I mean, I thought I led in somewhat negatively, but wow.
Yeah, I'm in the non-optimistic mindset because my faith in humanity is. I mean, I don't know if it exists. If it's there, it's going to take a microscope to find it at the moment. So,
Wow, that's sad to hear. To provide some balance, I've been to the pub and I've been able to play golf, and that's been real nice. So some of my creature comforts are being given back to me.
Did you manage to shoot the ball past the spinning windmill?
Please, Matt, you know my relationship with the windmill. It took my father from me, so we don't joke about that.
Sorry.
Zach, how have you been, buddy?
yeah, give us lightness to this misery fest.
I'm pretty okay. I haven't really done much. I been outside for food a few times. I'm big into that. I like food. I read some comics. They're okay.
The big question, have you read any more TMNT?
Yes.
Of course. I am. I've just started the IDW Collection Volume 9. So I've just read the Bebop and Rocksteady Destroy Everything volume, and then the first 8 issues of Turtles Universe, and the Christmas special issue, which is like issue 60 something of the ongoing. And
I remember that. That was good.
It's a good. Nothing happens. Literally nothing happens. They just have a Christmas party, and kind of everyone turns up who's not meant to, and it's just chaotic. But it's kind of adorable for it, and it was a real feel-good bit of out of season Christmas stuff, so that was nice. And Turtles Universe is just real good, isn't it?
It's just real good quality comics.
Yeah, there's stuff that I am aware that to people not reading Turtles probably sounds super uninteresting, but the fact that I'm like, I can't even think what it is, what happens in those first 8 issues, but there's just like little bits where it's like there's a 2-page story about the little baby Triceratops and what she dreams about, and I'm like, it's good stuff. That's 5-star daydreaming. That is like
Pepperoni,
the
pet dinosaur.
I do really need to know if the little Velociraptor that ends up with Bebop and Rocksteady does come back around, or if that is completely forgotten about, and I get the feeling it's completely forgotten about.
We can only wait and see. You're fast approaching, I think, the Sophie Campbell takeover.
Yeah, I'm getting real close. We'll see. Let's be honest. I'm going to get there inevitably. Time is my only enemy.
And so far, everything I've read that has been at least illustrated by Sophie Campbell has looked incredible. So I am pretty much looking. Yeah, I'm on board for her Turtles run. Yes,
definitely. And whilst there's this weird cuteness to everything that she draws. So like the rounder you make a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, the more adorable it is.
Yeah, there's a scientific formula for that.
There is. We'll post that as a comment for the video. But there's also like there's every now and again you get a glimpse of kind of the dark, violent stuff she does as well, which is real good too. Which is always my thing that I liked when she did Glory. That it's like there's literally a page in Glory where the two sisters punch each other's arms so hard, like the fists meet so hard that their arms explode. And it's like there's a fight scene in the film Ricky O, the story of Ricky, where Ricky and just a regular guy in prison are fighting, and like I don't know why I'm doing it. I don't have my webcam on, so you can't see.
We're imagining
punching at each other, and the other guy's like arm starts to split as Ricky's fist goes through the arm and just punches clean through it. It's amazing. I say clean; it's very messy, but it rules. That movie rules. I don't think Turtles is ever that violent as Glory is, but Sophie Campbell, good art. That's the takeaway here, I think.
I like how Glory herself looks like Sailor Moon's face, but on a thumb.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Right.
Man, I love Glory. Yeah. Not original recipe Glory though, just the like, you know.
Is it Keating?
Yeah, Joe Keating, Sophie Campbell, the good stuff. Mm-hmm. Should we get on with the business then?
Let's get on with the business. Oh wait, should we have a word from our erstwhile sponsor,
Matt?
Yeah. So, who is our sponsor, Will?
Oh, good swerve.
Oh, nice.
That'd be Travelling Man, Matt.
Oh, brilliant! I believe they have stores in Leeds, Newcastle, York, and Manchester. What can be found in those stores, Will?
Well, you can find all sorts of things, my cheery traveller, such as comic books.
Why? Like the comic books we might be discussing today?
Very much like the comic books we may be discussing today.
Comic books.
It's an affectation. Run with it.
Okay. Brilliant. And do they
and scene?
Yeah. Brilliant. And they are also online at travellingman.com.
That's right. But all of your gaming needs, your comic needs, your magic needs.
Yep, collectibles, all sorts.
And I mean that the way that Alan Moore means magic.
Snake puppets.
Snake puppets. Yeah, correct. So, with that nonsense out the way, we should talk about at least one of the 4 books that we're here to discuss.
This week is our May roundup episode. That means we're rounding up all of the comics from May.
I hope you've got about 6 hours.
4 of them.
And yeah, so
All of them,
we're
guys.
rounding them all up, and then we're ignoring most of them while we talk about 4. This week we've actually gone, as I often say, and it's rarely true, we've actually gone for 4 books from 4 different publishers, and
Yeah.
I'm
Finally
proud of
done
it.
it. The Holy Grail.
So, first up, I'm going to hand us over to Will for our first of the 4.
Okay, so the first of the 4 is Marjorie Finnegan, Temporal Criminal, from AWA Studios. It's written by Garth Ennis. The art is by Goran Sudzuka, letters by Rob Steen, and colours by Miroslav Merva. It's about, well, truly the title tells all. It's about Marjorie Finnegan. She's a temporal criminal. She hops through time, taking the treasures of the past, and is being chased by a one-eyed time cop called Harry. That's my synopsis.
Jolly good. Moving on.
Good talk.
Straight and to the point. That's what we like.
So, this is a book that me and Angela talked about a couple of weeks ago, and basically agreed that on name and premise alone, it was an inevitability that it would end up here.
Mm-hmm.
And it has, because, Will also, I'm guessing based on name and premise alone, and Garth Ennis alone.
Absolutely. It ticks a lot of boxes. I am a pretty big Garth Ennis fan, I think. I would number definitely Preacher amongst my sort of all-time favourite reads.
Yep.
I quite like some of his sort of lesser talked about works, like Red, about a group of sort of police turned vigilante, but sort of set in a real world with actual consequences and whatnot, rather than Punisher style. But I've got to say, this didn't land for me.
This feels like it could have come out at any point in Garth Ennis's career, and he would have written it exactly the same.
Yes.
Which is kind of a weird feeling.
Yeah.
As you say, the sort of the temporal criminal element of it is sort of interesting to me straight off the bat. But actually, at least within this first issue, like, very little happens in that regard. It spends quite a lot of its time explaining who the characters are, and there aren't that many characters. There is Marjorie herself.
Yeah.
Harry is spoilers?
I mean, don't think we've ever shied away from spoilers.
No,
we're generally bad.
Why start now? Harry's a sister. Marjorie travels through time with the help of Tim, who is a head. And at one point, there's a Nazi gentleman called Otto. I don't think we'll see much of Otto again. I'm not sure.
No.
Possibly not.
It didn't quite do enough with its premise. And I think worst of all, I've no problem with crude. I've got no problem with sort of toilet humor, but it has to actually be funny. And I think this book misses on that count. It just isn't funny.
See,
it doesn't.
No.
Right. This is something I desperately wanted to bring up. So she actually, the opening dialogue from Marjorie is essentially her talking about how she gets criticized for being sick, crude, childish, and unfair, I think. Which I would be okay with any of those kinds of comedy if they were here. And it feels like opening with that dialogue from kind of out of nowhere of saying, like, people say my sense of humor is weird, feels really defensive. Like it's trying to say, like, if you don't find this book funny, you're the problem. And because I'm Garth, and this is a funny book, man.
That's exactly how I felt. It was like, I'm laying this out, and you don't find it funny? Tough. It is funny because I know funny, and this is why.
Yeah. There was I was not really. I didn't particularly like this. There was one sequence I liked, in the book, which is the Viking raid at the very start. Like when it cuts to the start of the Viking raid, and the little hut comes apart to reveal like an artillery piece, like a howitzer or something.
Yeah.
And that I like. That I kind of enjoyed, like this little sequence of like it made me think of like the kind of role of the God, this is like history nerdy, but about like German, like it just made me think about like German military officers being called into like to help modernize various militaries for World War One and stuff. Like they helped, like German military advisors went into like Japan and stuff, and I was like, and I was like, oh yeah, German military, and then I was like, oh wait, that's a Nazi. But still, like it was kind of a fun sequence, like similar to it was a very Time Cop sequence, like the movie Time Cop.
Yeah.
Where Ron Silver, like, melts into Ron Silver. And it's great.
I went to school with a guy called Max Walker. He was very popular.
Yeah.
I think in relation to that scene, Matt, like I think the reason some of those bits work, and to kind of give you my real positive upshot of this book, is I think the art's pretty good all the way through. Yeah. And I think it sells that comedy in that Viking moment where one Viking guy manages
the physical comedy is pretty good.
Yeah, when he crawls out the ocean and then he's sort of
a
cannonball is shot through him,
and
he's just limbs and a splash behind him, I think is really good. And later when Harry shoots that guy,
and he's just literally a net.
Yeah, he's literally full of holes, and some of those bits, it was the kind of redeeming factor of this book is while we never find out why does she do it, like what's the driving narrative of this book. Is it just going to be cat and mouse between Marjorie and her sister? There are some hints of people watching Marjorie, but so little is given that it's not really a hook.
Given that it's creepy.
It is super creepy.
It's very creepy and a little bit voyeuristic.
Yeah.
And it's like, who is this for?
That's sort of it, isn't it? I'm okay with that when it's a character trait of somebody who is that character, if that is necessary to the plot. If it's just a joke that they've kind of missed, that they've looked away from the camera when she dropped her towel, and that's all it's there for, then boo. But then you get to their like temporal keep, their sort of tower floating in the time stream, and it looks super cool. Like that's it's a wicked design and an idea. I don't know why geese have boxing gloves in the time stream.
No, I really need to know. I feel like it's a pun I can't figure out.
Yeah, I was trying to figure it out as well. I sat there for ages going like, okay, so there are like swans, and they've got boxing gloves. Like, there must be something here.
And the thing is, Garth Ennis, at least to me, has been funny. And
absolutely.
When he's at his best, he's a really good storyteller and can play with kind of tension and expectation. My existing fandom is enough to say I will probably read the second issue of this, but it has not been a success for me. I just think the art is really good and is worthy of mention, including the colouring. But yeah, story-wise,
for me, Garth Ennis is at his best when he's actually writing against type and is being humane. Like when he's writing like the emotional sequences in Preacher or Hitman. Like, and it's about like it's the weirdness of Garth Ennis telling you to be, like kind to people, and like right after he's I don't know, like had someone fuck themselves to death.
But that's it. When it's that sort of extreme, it becomes silly and becomes funny to me again. It's just this rides the line where it's not extreme enough to be funny. It's sort of just extreme enough to be a bit gross.
Yeah, and one thing I thought was kind of a good idea, but also somewhat lazy, was the introduction of these at the 1 second.
The Unfucker.
Yeah, the K2001 real-liner, the Unfucker, which basically just says that you can kill your own grandfather and, you know, that's okay, because time will just fix that. This little portable hard drive will just fix that.
Yeah, it'll figure out a way for them to die in a way that won't fuck things up.
Yeah, and we'll make sure someone else was your grandfather, and that's cool. And whilst I think it's kind of a really neat way to go, and I no longer have to worry about paradoxes or the problems with time travel stories, it kind of goes against stuff. So something like Chrononauts, was it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was going to bring up Chrononauts, actually.
Which is basically the story of time travelers intentionally fucking up time.
Yeah.
And is kind of like, it feels like to intentionally be like, no, and they can't fuck up time because of this small black box is kind of like, yeah, but part of the fun is fucking up time. We know this. We're like, I don't know, we're 100 years into time travel stories at this point. It's
at least, yeah.
But I guess that also bakes in its own set of jeopardy then. Like, the only thing stopping her from fucking up time is the Unfucker. And if that is a tiny black box that could be easily broken, then I think it's, in that way, it's set up the premise that, hey, there are no worries here, there are no consequences. And then at a moment's notice, you could create exactly that consequence to say, well, everything you do from this point forward, you have to change.
I'd go with that if at any point it seemed like that was in jeopardy, but then we sort of leave that all behind in favour of we're gonna run out of our little tower and bump into my sister. So it feels like there's a lot of ideas that aren't just quite developed to the point where I can buy it, because I like time travel stories where things get messed up for whatever reason, and I like the idea that what happens if that does break, and maybe it'll come down the line, but it just felt like it was put in there as a neat way of saying, but I don't have to worry about all that complicated time travel stuff yet. I'm not interested in that just yet. And it's like with the characters, it's like we get a lot of character, but we don't get a lot of character. I've spent a lot of time with Marjorie, and I don't know much about her aside from she's pretty annoying at points.
But yeah, I think in there lies the problem, is that what's the plot?
Yeah.
It says at the end to be continued, but then like to what? We don't know why any of it's happening or what it's going towards. And I think in there lies the book's major problem. And it's one of those cliches now, but maybe in trade it won't matter. It'll be that continuous story, but as a single issue, as it's been chosen to be released as a single issue, there's no hook on this.
No.
So great art, and I will, against my better judgment, give it another chance. But yeah, just missed the mark.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with Will on this one. I think it's entirely a premise we should be into, but
the execution.
Yeah, the actual execution of that premise is kind of somewhat non-existent.
Yeah.
But like you said, I definitely think that, like we were saying, the physical humor of with the art is its strongest point, and that the art, some of the art in particular in this, is worth praise.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And I just think it's worth sort of saying that again before,
there are definite qualities to the book, and the art is a big part of that.
I do have one question, and it's a question that might only matter to me, but I have to ask it because of who I am. The issue is named after Starman, the Bowie song. It's called The Children Boogie.
Yeah.
But why, though?
Because she's got a poster and she sings she's a Bowie fan.
Well,
I don't know why I pronounced that
but
weird, but hey.
we all are, but I just don't think that. I ultimately wanted it to have some connection other than. Can we all do it? Can we all sing Starman, and that's what we get to call our storyline, our issue?
But again, that's it, isn't it? That there might be, but there's just no indication in this about what all of the pieces mean. They're just.
I think it'll be worth seeing what they call the other issues, like whether they all follow that same formula of like after a song.
And also, but to also go for the Bowie thing. If you're writing a time travel story and you need a Bowie lyric that's good, that relates, Time Takes a Cigarette is definitely what you call the first issue of your time travel thing. We do a whole rock and roll suicide based storyline. I'm not saying that I can write a better time travel comic with Bowie titles.
You don't like Falls wanking to the floor.
I think the problem is that's an issue like 3 or 4.
Yeah. Mail that idea to yourself.
As I do with every idea.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to mail Bowie lyrics to? Can we mail Bowie lyrics to ourselves and take credit for them? Is that like a legal loophole? Or is that okay?
If we pay him royalties. I mean, I don't know how much each word is worth, but I'm sure we can come to some sort of agreement.
Get me the Bowie estate on the phone. Let's find out.
Yeah.
On that
note,
on that bombshell,
right? Shall we move on, as they say in podcasts?
I can't think of a Speaking of David Bowie, speaking of dying wanking on the floor,
these are things that have no relation to the next book on this list here of discussion. Spoilers, it's a book I enjoyed more than the last one. So there you are, as a concept. There is no David Bowie in it. Spoilers. Tragically. I feel like he will have done a song about a crab in a mangrove at one point, but, history says not. So it is Eve, and it is published by Boom. It is written by Victor LaVelle, and it is illustrated by someone whose name I am about to mangle horribly. My apologies. Joe Mi-Gyeong, I think. I'm going to go with that.
That sounds good to me.
It was coloured by Brittany Peer, and it was lettered by, and shout out to the fact that we have seen another book recently by And World Design. They seem to be lettering quite a lot of things recently. I'm just pointing that out. I keep track. Anyway... Angela's obsession with lettering aside. So there are only 3 characters in this. There's Eve, there's a dad, and there is a android teddy bear called Wexler, who is the best.
And hereby the best character.
The best character. So Eve opens with Eve in the mangroves with some crabs. She's 11 years old. She likes talking to herself. I can relate. I spent most of my childhood talking to myself. The worrying bit was when I talked back. So Eve talks to herself with the mangroves. She lives there with her dad, and it's quite, nice. And then suddenly her dad's like, it's time. And she wakes up in a dystopian future that has been destroyed by climate change. And her only friend / guardian / parent substitute is Wexler, who is an android teddy bear built by her dad, and who was given to her by her mum. And she's got to basically become the Johnny Appleseed of the future and help us all away from, climate change and things. But we end with her looking over Manhattan, and it's very wet. I'll put it that way. Climate change has not been nice. So I really, really enjoyed it. Good book, nice art, good lettering. It was just really nice. Eve's a great little protagonist. Wexler is just the best because he's a teddy bear and he's snarky and he's an android. And
well, no, the best part is that he isn't a teddy bear. When you actually see all of the panels where, like, there's a great panel where Eve is being carried.
Yes, and the legs are really long.
And we see what he actually looks like. Which she can't see, and we see the height that he's actually walking at.
What I especially like is he then she's like, oh, and he's like, one day
you'll be strong enough to carry me.
And she's like, really? He's like, no, I'm 320 pounds. Don't be ridiculous.
It's great.
He sounds snarky. He's great.
I can't help but feel in that. So we see kind of a shadow just before we see like his big robot legs. We see a panel where the shadow of what he actually looks like is behind the bear form. I can't help but feel like somewhere in a couple of issues' time, we're going to get the full reveal of Wexler as this kind of, badass android defending Eve, and it's going to be a hell of a reveal.
Yeah, I can see that happening because it's hinted at here. But Eve's a really nice little character as well.
Yes,
because like I say, she's 11. And
she's been raised in virtual reality as well, which is always fun. Much like Impulse.
But I think Eve is like smart and personable as well. Like she's a very immediately likable character. Like Wexler steals the show. Don't get me wrong. His like deadpan robo wit. I think it's a really, really well paced book, as you say. Like it reveals the story really well, and it takes 6 pages before it tells you kind of what's happening. maybe about that, but within that I didn't kind of see it coming, like I knew it was going to be an environmental book, and I knew that their little world wasn't going to be everything it seemed, but the idea that it in fact was all virtual reality, and there's the blueprint for which they're going to kind of reseed the earth. I think it was a real good twist.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just the way it gives you information in this book, I think, is really well paced and is never felt overloaded, but tells you quite a lot about what's going on. And again, sort of unlike the last book, by the last page, kind of broadly what the plot is, why
what
there's
the stakes are.
Yeah, that's it. What the stakes are, I think, is really important.
Like, did anyone else on the there's one page in this which is particularly fantastic. It's the sequence where Eve is about to exit her pod, like her virtual reality like stasis pod.
Yep.
And she and her dad are walking into like what looks like a cold storage locker, and you just don't know quite what's going on, and she's absolutely terrified. The first time I read it, I was like, "Oh, she's going into storage. He's literally putting her somewhere safe." When in fact it's the exact opposite. It's her finally coming out of it, and it's a brilliant little twist, that idea, and her dad just being there to kind of help her, but knowing that he can't get her out for her. It's great. I genuinely sent a shiver down my spine when she's just opening it, and the final sort of panel is just black and just white lettering saying, "Am I dead?" It's great.
Yes, I agree with Matt on all of these points.
Yes.
One tiny thing that isn't a problem. No, it's not a problem or anything, but it just bugged me when I first saw it. The first time I saw the cover, I immediately went, "Oh, a new issue of Saga."
I can see that.
It was literally just because of the logo and the colors.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. I actually, while we go on to the logo, that leads me into something I was going to talk about, which is, so I think it's Scott Newman. Scott Newman was the designer for this, and it's a good logo, but it's not a logo that I'm going to go with. There is a kind of tree logo throughout.
Yes.
I love that. The fact that you see it all the time. Yeah.
And this says a lot about me, but it immediately made me think of Lost and the Dharma Initiative kind of logos, where it was always the symbol with the.
I've never watched Lost, so I'll just nod. Uh-huh.
And you've not got your webcam on, so we can't see that either.
It's also a podcast, so
we'll just assume.
That's why I've got to tell people.
Nod.
But yeah. As far as design work goes, I think both the logo and then the tree insignia symbol.
Yeah.
Mark, I don't know what logo is. Pretty sweet.
It's very good.
Yeah.
I may have missed my chance because it was on the previous sort of subject, but do you think there's a reason that the cold storage locker as a number 6 is the 6th locker?
I did think that. Yes, I did.
That might have some repercussion.
Number. Yeah.
Yes. Or are there going to be 5, or is Eve the 6th attempt?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or is it a direct reference to that totally sweet band Eve 6? It itself was an X-Files reference.
It could be a reference to the sixth day.
There is
the Arnold Schwarzenegger film, not the biblical reference. Duh.
Yeah,
obviously.
Did you also notice that, like, on her suit, she has like different coloured lights?
Different coloured lights, that seem to change.
Yeah.
And at some point, they just turn off, and then they're kind of not mentioned again. But I've got a feeling they're going to be important.
Well, we know that she loses the suit. Like she gets out of the suit.
Yeah. Yeah, because she's in the T-shirt, which I love the logo on the T-shirt.
Yeah, the dead fish.
The dead fish, the fish skeleton.
I did wonder if the little LEDs were just like related to like monitoring her status in the storage tube thing, and if they just like powered down as she.
Maybe it's more throwaway than I.
Don't be wrong. It's a nice detail that I think a lot of people wouldn't have bothered with. So I got a lot of time for it. I'm all about those details no one cares about.
Can I go with another nice detail, which is the barcode on the back of Wexler's head?
Yeah.
I don't know why, but that pleases me.
Also, the fact that the little paw beans like light up at various points, like I love him.
Yeah, he's a lovable little android bear.
And like I said, I love the fact that it's set up already and done perfectly sort of well within the world, like that things don't, like certain things won't look like they won't actually be what they appear to us. Like Wexler doesn't actually look like the bear. Like that's just an illusion.
I have to say, the fact that we see his giant android legs, but then when he has to climb a ladder, he does it as a teddy bear, is perhaps one of my favourite things in this.
But the thing to remember is that he's like it again. That's just how it looks to us. He's actually climbing it with his android legs. He's not hidden. From what I can tell, he's not hidden inside the bear. The bear is just an illusion.
See, I didn't read because when he's got the giant legs, it does look like they've come out of the bottom of the bear.
Yeah,
I get that, and I'm probably wrong. I'm probably just reading this wrong, and I love it even more if he's actually just climbing as a bear and taking long, like being really pointlessly sort of committed to the bit. Like. He's a comedian after my own heart, if that's the case.
I hope that's the case.
It's open.
I've got to say, I think the whole structuring of this, the reveal that Eve's been in stasis, the world is underwater, the reveal of Manhattan at the end. I think the pacing is really nicely done, and every reveal does feel kind of naturally done and just real good stuff. I think
It is.
Yeah, good talk.
Yeah.
Guys.
Yeah. Good book.
Yeah.
Very good.
No, I think
book.
excellent book.
Yeah.
I also like the fact that we kind of see the vault, which we're then told. We see the vault at the start, which we're then told is her destination. I think it gives us a good, like, a exposition that isn't at any point feeling that way. It all feels like you're lining everything up, but without just like telling us. We're not getting the exposition dump. We're getting the.
No, it feels like being given a quest. Like you've just got your destination, and the story is going to be in the process of getting there. One would assume.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do also feel like the first 10 pages or so feel like the start of a video game in the kind of.
Yeah.
They feel like you're the start of like Fallout 3 or something.
Yes. Yeah. That's a good shout with Fallout.
Yeah.
And I'm all for it. I think it works in that kind of form, and then even to the extent of like finding Wexler feels the same as finding the dog or the creepy house robot thing that's just floating around in the street after it. Everyone went with the dog in Fallout. You should have gone with the creepy household robot. I think we all know that, really.
Deep down.
So I think we all liked that. So on to Becstar.
Speaking of creepy robots in the street,
nice.
So Becstar is from Mad Cave Comics. It is written by Joe Coralo. It is artisted.
Yes, artisted. Yes.
It is artisted by Lorenzo Colangeli. If I've done that wrong, sorry. Cover artist is Sweeney Boo. Letterist. Screw it. Yeah, letterist is Jomet Gill. Any takers on if that's correct?
I would go with that. Yes.
Yeah.
Jomet Gill. Edited by Chris Fernandez. Book designed by Miguel Angel Zapata. In a nutshell, Becstar is the story of not Becstar, at least to begin with. It's the story of Paprika, who, as her friend Turlo Vermillion's facilities under siege, is gifted a clairvoyance rod, which allows her to see the future a little bit, but also makes you insanely paranoid, it seems. And he's basically tasked with finding Becstar and keeping the clairvoyance rod away from Lord Mordecai, possibly my favourite villain name that is just like...
Lord Mordecai is incredibly satisfying to say.
It is, isn't it? It's like...
Oh, yeah.
Peak villain name. So, tasked with finding Becstar, who is currently drinking and gambling in a casino, which is gloriously on a kind of casino space station shaped like a giant roulette wheel. Yes. But, you know, Mordecai's kind of got the jump on the sitch, and he's already after Becstar because he thinks Paprika's already touched base with her and will have already done stuff. Along the way, we learn that Becstar has second in command on her journey across the stars, who is Sally Sulin, who is the responsible one in the whole affair. And basically, the former crew that consisted of Becstar, Turlo, Lord Mordecai, and Anissa, on a job kind of, treasure hunting, all came into possession of mystical artifacts. Becstar has a dagger that is lucky, or a luck dagger, if you will. Turlo obviously had his clairvoyance rod. Mordecai's got himself a consumption amulet. And Anissa's got herself the creation gauntlet, which just now have I realised the 4 symbols underneath the E on the Becstar logo, that's what they represent.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm realising that with you also.
Yeah, also here, yeah.
But yeah, I see. Cool. Good shout.
I just want to go back to the space station for a second. It reminded me of because it's a very similar design in Cowboy Bebop. For a casino that's like that, and I always love stupidly over-designed space stations like that on a theme. And I just wanted to praise that just quickly.
That is fine with me. It's
worthy of praise.
Yeah, it's something I'm far too into, and as soon as I saw it, it's like that's really dumb, and I'm here for that. Love a good space station. Just put that out there on the table.
More for space stations.
Yeah,
I think this book seems to ride a bit of a line between sci-fi and it feels like maybe an epic fantasy.
Yeah. I think it kind of folds the two together quite seamlessly, really. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's too hung up on either side of it.
I mean, it's a pretty tropey book, I think, but they're tropes I'm sort of into. And one thing that stood out to me was I really, really like the art design in this book. The sort of Scott Pilgrim-ish hyper realism isn't even what I mean. The sort of exaggeration of features. So it's not completely sort of cartoonized, but it is beyond realism. Yeah,
it's close enough that when it needs to be more cartoony, it can be.
Yeah, very slightly anime in sections, or manga more appropriately. Yeah, in a couple of moments.
It reminded me a little bit of Crowded.
Okay, yeah.
Like not like just enough. Like in some of the sort of character designs and stuff like that, I was really into that.
Yeah, I can see that.
Matt, you've mentioned Cowboy Bebop, and I do have to touch on as well. There's at least 2 Star Wars references that I immediately spotted. One is that Mordecai, when we first see him, is sat on like a shadowy black throne with like a big circular window behind him whilst talking to a hologram, which is the most Darth Sidious kind of shtick. We also get that after Paprika's got away and Turlo's waiting for the android Oscar. Oh,
the cut through the door, and
they're like melting the door with the lasers, with the heated up sword.
I missed that it was with a heated up sword.
Pure Qui-Gon Jinn, and yes, it is
pure Qui-Gon.
Delicious Qui-Gon Jinn references.
A sentence never before spoken,
but needed to be.
It's time.
Did anyone else love the little police robots?
With their like Cylon single beam eye, and then
and a little sound, the sound bar,
like waveform reader for a mouth.
Yeah,
it's
and the little hat at the top of the head.
Yeah.
It reminds me sometimes in some of the 2000 AD stuff when they're not set in megacity, they often have this kind of twee British future, which is like it's a market town, but with sort of very twee British robots and police officers and things. But back to this book. I think the plot itself was not sort of surprising. It didn't.
No, it's fairly, not to be cruel, but it's fairly paint by numbers in that regard. Like it's to get it started.
Yeah, and I think all of the characters have a sort of. None of them are po-faced sort of stoic heroes.
No.
Paprika kind of might be the most sort of
she's the closest
straight character, but I like the fact that Becstar and Sally Sulin, great name, are just sort of I'm not even sure what the word is. I've got the word jokers in my head, but that I think I can only get away with that if I'm 13 or below. But they just have a sense of humor about them.
I think that's fair.
Sally is probably my favorite character.
Yeah.
In it,
she's
really
so
like
put
Sally.
upon. She's like here I am, the sensible friend, and look what you're dragging me into again.
Yeah, there's a great line like where it's, what are you even doing with your life? Hell, what are you doing with my life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think it's quite a good variety of characters we get.
Yeah.
Which is nice. It's nice to get kind of an initial team that's kind of varied in an immediately recognizable sense. Yeah, and the personalities as well. I really need more of, like, I need more knowledge of Mordecai. Is he just sitting in the shadows, like, waiting? Is that his whole shtick? Just like
consuming all the time.
Yeah, yeah, just
nothing else. Just
God. When I first read he has the amulet of consumption, my brain went back to to Wild West times. I was like, oh God, he's got tuberculosis.
Yeah, I'm glad that wasn't just me. I was he's got like the okay.
He's going to go up.
Power for an amulet.
They're going to send him to the mountains to get to go and live in the fresh air for a while to get better.
Yeah,
my thought was more of like a Goku thing. Like no matter how many rice bowls he gets given,
still needs more.
Just consumes constantly.
Which kind of sounds like that might be the problem.
He did mention at one point that he just consumes
endless
energy.
Hunter.
Yeah.
When they talk about the 4 items, so the creation gauntlet creates pretty vague. The clairvoyance rod shows you the future, but also makes you extremely paranoid, like on the spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there's drawbacks with all of these because when we're going through that flashback, it doesn't specifically sort of state the drawbacks of all of them. It's just like Becstar's like, yeah, I've got my lovely luck dagger that grants me all the luck in the universe, but as we've already seen, not at certain,
always work.
Doesn't at gambling. The clairvoyance rod makes you paranoid as all get out. So presumably there are side effects to the consumption amulet and the creation gauntlet as well, which maybe Mordecai can't move because he has consumed too much. He has to stay where he is for now.
Yeah, that could be it.
Could be.
I think that's the primary mystery which is interesting to me, though, is that these 4 items are clearly not common in this world. There aren't tons of these things going around. So, kind of, what are they and why have they got them? And
it's these they're like ancient relics. Someone was after them.
But that's it. They don't tell you where they got them, really. Who paid them to get them? Any of it. It's just we did a job. We got these 4 things, and they're cool.
Yeah, and I appreciate that there are potentially, therefore, multiple antagonists who are going to be going. There's the people who were after them in the first place. There's Mordecai, who is now like after them to kind of like after specific ones.
Yeah.
To kind of help him, and it's there's going to be like multiple sides kind of going after it. It's not just one bad guy. It's like I say, like it's a fairly standard sort of setup in this first issue, but it's pretty well done for what that sort of setup is. The characters have a good feel to them. Like we were saying, and if it gets through all of this setup fairly quickly, like it does, then that just means it can get to the kind of more like its own stuff more.
Yeah.
I
want to just give a shout out to the colouring as well, because we don't do that often enough, but it's a huge part of why the art looks so good to me.
Yeah, definitely.
The colouring is fantastic.
And I'm just a sucker for like lots of different colours of hair, and there's some good hair colours in here.
I'm sure I've said this probably before, but like there are certain artists who just have face swaps, and you can only tell characters apart by their hairstyle. And despite the fact they all do have like very different and very rad hair, they could all be bald, and I'd still tell them apart. Like they are distinct characters in their own right, both personality and like visually.
Yeah, that's true.
They're all very different, and like you say, you can pick them out of a crowd quite literally.
I think that's maybe what gives me confidence in this book, as we were saying, sort of overcoming its slightly tropey nature, is that so much of the world feels fully formed. Like I believe that the answers are already kind of written and we will get them, rather than it doesn't feel like they're writing it on the seat of their pants, making stuff up as they go along and hoping it all falls into place. It feels fleshed out, and it gives me a bit of confidence that to keep reading this would be nice.
Yeah, that it'd be rewarding.
Yeah, it leaves you hungry for more.
Ever hungry.
So you can consume more of it later.
Yeah, I hope that the answer is that he wants the creation glove just to make for just subways.
Just balance. It's
endless
doing
subway.
Balance. Yeah.
The complete opposite of Thanos. Just Thanos wanted to rid of half the people. He just wants to keep creating stuff infinitely.
Yeah.
I also, speaking of infinitely, I have to admit I have a tremendous amount of respect for anyone who's like, screw it, we can have a gauntlet. It's fine.
Yeah.
No one, Marvel don't own the word gauntlet. Yeah. We're just going to have our own gauntlet.
Yeah, look, Aaron's got a glove as well.
I like this a lot. This was cool.
Yeah.
Very good. It might be the first thing I've read from Mad Cave.
I think it was my first as well.
But,
yes, me too.
Good.
Me too.
Good.
Yeah, if this is the sort of stuff that's coming out from there, that's quite promising.
Yeah, definitely.
I got to admit as well, there's just something about going, well, if you got a dagger that makes me lucky. On some level, it just really appeals to me.
Oh, I got this sick dagger. Oh well, I got this sick stuff. I got a glove.
Yeah, got a sweet
I got
glove.
one glove like Michael Jackson.
But I think, I mean, you were saying this before we were recording, Zach, so I'm not going to steal your thunder. But I think it provides you a huge amount of information without being a glut. Like I say, it was your point, really. So I'm not going to...
Yeah, true. And I'd completely forgotten that was my point. But yeah, it does give you quite a lot of exposition, but in kind of a like, by the way, while I'm already talking to you, just let me mention that this is some of the plot. But I think
it's good scripting.
Yeah, and it all comes across quite naturally. I think there's quite a lot of dialogue, but it's quite nicely spaced.
Yeah, it never feels like they're just giving you an exposition dump, because sometimes bits of dialogue can feel like this dialogue is only here so we can tell the reader this, that, and the other. Here, it's just like, here are two characters having a conversation and imparting useful information.
Yes.
I mean, looking over the pages, like, it is quite dialogue heavy. Like, most pages have quite a few text boxes on them, but I think it does that dual thing of telling one story in the art and something else in the text, so it's never boring. I think where I would criticize it is if it was basically saying what was happening, as like the old 60s comments would say, and then he jumped through the window. So, well, you've just shown me that. I can don't need to tell me that happened. But I think, they're walking through town, or they're getting kicked out of casinos or escaping goons. But at the same time, their conversation is telling you about something else, is sort of giving you more about the world, rather than just saying, I'm shooting this goon now.
Yeah.
I got him. Yeah.
Hooray.
Maybe one last thing before we inevitably move on. Will often complains about backgrounds not having enough stuff. And I think there is an absurd amount of stuff in some of the backgrounds in this. Like in the bar, there's all the stickers from the beer pumps on the wall behind the guy, and like really odd little details that I think people would overlook. And
it earns the moments where it has nothing in the background. You think, well, fair enough. You deserve a rest, because
you designed beer stickers for the wall.
There's one page where it's sort of 3 long vertical panels of them walking through the city and walking through different people.
Yeah.
And there is so many faces, and they are all different, and they're so detailed that it's, like if you want to draw somebody on a blank background, do it. Go for it. You've earned it.
Yeah, because you drew 20
Yeah.
people in that one panel, so
Yeah,
okay.
so
Yeah.
good work.
Can I just say, nice lettering. That is all.
Have to get one in every episode.
I have to get what, yeah.
It's always worth, like, when it's really good, it's worth saying.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
Letterers don't get enough
I don't
credit.
know. I'm championing the letterers of this world, and
It's
yeah.
your like campaign.
It is my campaign. T-shirts coming soon. Anyway,
Speaking of letterers,
yeah.
is there one in the next book?
Yes,
Or
this
did they
book,
just appear by magic?
this book happens to have them. And what is this book, you say? Why, it's Jenny Zero from Dark Horse. It's written by Dave Dwonch and Brockton McKinney. It's illustrated and the covers by Magenta King, with colours by Megan Huang, and letters once again by Dave Dwonch. So it is the story of Jenny Tetsuo, who is the titular Jenny Zero, who is a retired, dishonorably discharged member of like a defense force, like the Action Science Police, who defend Japan from giant monsters. And yes, she left the service and is kind of living as a bit of a burnout. Like, she's incredibly famous for like her role, like her previous role in the service defending them, but she's obviously dealing with a lot of trauma, and is turning to like alcohol and drugs and stuff to kind of to deal with all of that. And then one day, her uncle, who's a general working with the Action Science Police, comes and tells her, well, monsters are coming back and they're getting worse. So I guess, welcome back. And yeah, we go from there. She's reintroduced to her bioweapon gun arm thing called Nemo, who I love. I think Nemo has one line of dialogue in this book, and it's just the word goo.
Yep.
And therefore, yeah, I'll die for Nemo.
Move over, Groot. We've got a new monosyllabic sidekick.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just kind of like Jenny and like her friend Dana dealing with kind of like the ashes of her sort of former career, trying to build something new, and then like Jenny being brought back into the service and fighting one particular monster. So like one thing I actually do like in the way that the monster is that they kind of explicitly talk like about these giant monsters being large enough to have parasites that like cling to them, like Remori, and like fly ahead and attack. So it's like, oh yeah, like turns out things are really bad before the monster even gets there.
That was a cool idea.
Yeah.
I know it's been done in other places. I can't remember specifics, but like it's a thing that I always appreciate, where it's like where the life cycle, like the ecosystem, it factors into like the existence of these things and what that would kind of like what that could entail. Yeah, it's that's just one tiny little thing I wanted to get out whilst it was fresh in my head and looking at my notes.
I'm going to get this out of the way right at the top before I say some real nice things about this book, because I liked it quite a bit. But Dave Dwonch and Brockton McKinney just sound like made-up names. So I'm going to get that out of the way,
I mean,
first and foremost.
Yeah.
And then we'll get on with this book. I enjoyed this quite a lot. we have recently seen quite a rise in the kaiju and kaiju-related comics media.
Yeah.
It seems to be the kind of flavour of the month. But I think this rides a line where it is unique enough. Makes me think of Alan Partridge. There are no gradations of uniqueness. One is either unique or not unique. But it is... It offers enough different to some of the others that I find it quite intriguing. I think the art again is very cool, a very different style, somewhat manga-ish.
Yeah, there's a few panels that like make me think of like King City and like Brandon Graham. Like there's one, it's like a 1.5 page spread, where Jenny's like looking down from the top of like a building, over the city, and like the angles and stuff, and like the lines are very, very sort of like Brandon Graham, like multiple rockets, multiple warheads. Sorry. I got Love and Rockets and Multiple Warheads mixed up in my head then. And yeah, that was a like, oh yes, I love this panel for me. Yeah, it's so that I totally get what you mean about like the kind of like the kind of like manga fusion kind of art.
Yeah, the Brandon Graham reference, I'm completely with you there, because it reminded me particularly. Nemo reminded me quite a lot of Prophet, and the sort of biotechnology, all-purpose sludge that they sort of that some of the Johns carry around in that. So yeah, big vibes there.
I have to ask, what happens to Nemo at the end of this?
See, that's what I'm worried about.
Because that's unclear in those last couple of pages.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Nemo's in the horn. I'm going to lay out there.
I'm like, obviously Nemo is fused, because nothing bad can happen to Nemo.
Nope, he's in there.
No, he's there somehow, somewhere, some part.
I think this book, again, as we've sort of commented on it in every other book, I think doesn't give you a huge amount of exposition. You get bits and bobs. It's clearly a world who, in part, are used to these sort of attacks, and at least for a period of time have managed to deal with them. But I think it also leaves enough mystery in this book to be interesting, to have that kind of want to come back and read more hook right at the end. She comments on like her father obviously seems to be an important figure who is dead, but maybe has set up the what were they called again? The Action Science Police.
Yeah, Mega Commander Zero.
Yeah,
great name. It's all great stuff. And the fact that he may have had powers is sort of briefly touched upon.
Implied, yep.
Why she was discharged, why she left, how she's ended up in LA. Sort of, there's a lot of questions that are very, very lightly touched upon.
Yeah.
But it's done in such a way that I feel they create intrigue rather than just annoyance at a lack of answers. They're interesting questions to me.
I like as well that we sort of see her, I mean, it's very obvious, isn't it? Booze and pills equals trauma, because it does.
Good shorthand.
Yeah, it's, trauma, bad things. But what I also like is that Dana, her friend, is still, it's like she's got this good, supportive friend who knows that ultimately Jenny's got to help herself.
Yeah.
It's a nice way of sort of showing their friendship. Like, she's a really supportive friend, but at the same time she's like, yeah, my friend's messed up. There ain't much I can do about that. I can just help her as she is. I just like that, you don't get enough of, female friendships in comics, which sounds weird, but of late, although we've had a lot of female characters in comics, the female friendship aspect kind of is a bit hit and miss, but here it was good. Let us hope that the ending doesn't mean that we're going to drop that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Surprisingly, we've managed to get 2 female friendships in both this and Becstar today. We're really...
Yeah. We're doing well.
Yeah, all 4 books have female protagonists, but, you know, some clearly stronger than others.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, but pretty solid round, I think, this month.
Very.
Are we into the position of ordering our said books? I think this might be one of the few times that we're a bit divergent.
As opposed to all the other times.
Yeah, when me and Matt picked the same thing and then you guys...
This is actually the hardest it's been in a fair while for me, actually. To sort of pick my top 3.
Yeah, I think it might be fair to say...
order the top 3, sorry.
Yeah,
I think it's fair to say... we're all going to agree on what's at number 4. I think there's
Marjorie
no doubt.
Finnegan, I think, is our number 4 this week. And again, as Matt said, it is worth pointing out that the art is really good in parts.
It's charming in parts. Like, it's good for physical comedy.
Yeah, and I don't want to completely demonize it, but it is. I think it's our collective number 4. This.
Just very disappointing.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I liked all of these in quite different ways. I think really with very, very little between any of it, I'm going to go at 3, Jenny Zero, at 2, Becstar.
Oh, God damn it, Will.
Got number 1, Eve.
No.
Yeah.
We've done it again.
Yeah.
I'm in complete agreement with Will and Matt for the first time.
And I am also in complete agreement with Will and Matt.
While this may be boring for the listeners, it reassures me that my opinion has been affirmed thrice.
Yeah,
I feel like the king of taste.
This is a big moment. You don't know, people, how big the fact that 4 people have agreed on this.
So let's try and separate some of that then. So I say there's very, very little between these 3. I think I went Jenny Zero at 3 just because there have been quite a lot of kaiju stories recently, and I kind of needed a reason to put it 3rd.
Get your own thoughts, Will.
Stop it, Will.
And then, let's see, because if this is the case, then if we all agree on this, then I think I might wake up and realize all of this has been a dream.
Yeah.
My life to this point. But the reason Eve went top is Wexler.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. Like, Wexler's the best character in any of the books we've read this week, this month.
I don't think just Wexler for me. So I think we've got some variety.
I like Wexler a lot, but he's not the only reason.
But even Becstar for me were very similar. I really liked Becstar's art, and although it's a bit more tropey in its kind of story, but it's not to say that Eve is especially more original than Becstar, but the actual story feels a little bit fresher.
I just like Becstar's little tropey references to sci-fi and fantasy, and just like it makes me feel clever. I understood that reference.
I just like with Eve. I like if you read the kind of mission statement in the back, of the book. Like I kind of just I like that it's trying to be positive, and it is very like it's having a younger protagonist is a very like deliberate choice and stuff. It is like there's a great line where it is like, and make no mistake, if the world is going to get saved, it's the kids who are going to do it. And that is, just the mission statement of this book, is that, like, believe in the future.
A lot of sci-fi, particularly ecological end of the world sci-fi, doesn't have that kind of hopeful uplift, and it is nice to see it.
Yeah.
So, has anyone got anything else they wanted to add about these 4 books, or the order, the reason they've settled on the order they've settled on.
Like I say, it's just like again kind of very similar. I liked them. I really liked them. And like we said, it was so close and took a lot of work to kind of figure out what felt like the right order. And it could change issue by issue. If we were to do this exact same thing again next month, it could be different, like just based on individual sort of little things and issues. But like, I came so close to putting Jenny Zero higher because it uses words that I like and it puts those words together in ways that I always appreciate. Things like Action Science Police and Mega Commander Zero. Those are like the sorts of things that I really, really love. As like just the sorts of dumb shit that are my bread and butter. The like Becstar I just found quite charming, really.
Yeah.
Was it? But like, yeah, like you say, it's Becstar is comfortable as a start. Like the kind of the use of like the tropes in it, like makes it quite easy to settle into. Like I said, like it eases you in, so it can build its own universe.
Yeah.
Like, and that's great. I was really kind of, I had a lot of fun reading Becstar. Eve is the one though that, like I say, I just think has a lot of potential. I really feel like I really like Eve. I genuinely really do. Like, I feel like the character's going to be a lot of fun to kind of like a lot of fun to do with. Like, kid characters can so often just can be the absolute worst to read. Like, but I like her. Like, she's like really sort of like she's determined and clever and brave whilst also being, whilst not being afraid to express that she's afraid. And to express that, like, she wants her dad. She wants all these things that, like, are kind of on the other side, and she recognizes that, well, like, I can want these things, but if I stay here waiting for them, I guess I'm going to die, and stuff like that. Like, it's real. I really enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to more.
Yeah,
that's kind of why I ordered them that way.
I'm in quite noticeable agreement with all of you.
It's so weird.
It is. I don't like it.
I don't like this. This is like we've slipped into the twilight zone.
It feels like there's something terrible must have happened.
I know.
I can't just like this is apocalyptic. Right?
I can't just look at Angela and just go best book.
No.
Because we're in agreement about what best book
is. I'm looking now for the Four Horsemen.
They've not arrived yet.
Not arrived yet, but
the sky has gone black outside.
Yeah, it has. So
the stars are falling, but
but that's unrelated.
Yeah, unrelated. I am in agreement. I think to match Will's point earlier, I think Jenny Zero unfortunately comes at a time where we've got an awful lot of kaiju stuff, and if it wasn't for Ultra Mega and the fact that there is an ongoing Ultraman series right now and
a bunch of like tokusatsu inspired Kickstarters,
and stuff like Kaiju Score and
Kaiju Max from a few years ago.
Oh, I love that.
Kaiju Max is really good.
But I wonder if Kaiju Max would have been
going to get a new season, isn't it?
I believe so.
Must be. I wonder if Kaiju Max would have been as successful if it had come along now when everyone's having a pop at the like kaijus.
Maybe have been more successful.
Maybe, and I think it's going to be interesting. I was trying to conceive earlier if it would be insane for us to do a kind of tokusatsu kaiju tournament when all these trades are out of like Jenny Zero, Radiant Black, Inferno Girl Red, Ultra Mega, and we'll have like a best of the kaijus tournament. I don't know.
Have to get some OG Power Rangers in there as well.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Got to see if it still holds up against the Pretenders.
Let's read Battle for the Grid, or not Battle for the Grid. Shattered Grid.
Shattered Grid.
Goldars Day Out.
Let's
you go.
Let's do this. I don't know. I'll draw up the brackets. Equally, I agree with. I think Wexler is awesome. I think Eve is good, and I think everything in between. I feel like Eve is a story that's got a point behind it, which is something perhaps the others do not, which is a nice extra layer. But Becstar is just pure fun, and I think it feels lighthearted and feels knowing in the sci-fi it's referencing, and there's a Qui-Gon Jinn reference in there, and
and there's just a lot of variety in like character design in it as well, which is always great.
Yeah, I mean there's little I can add to the reasons already given, because damn it, everyone's already stolen all my reasons. But yeah. Jenny Zero, Kaiju are all over the place right now, aren't they? I'm expecting Godzilla to rock up anytime soon.
Incidentally, there is a new Godzilla book that started this month.
Oh, thanks for that. That can go in the pool. That can go in the pool now.
Incidentally, Half Century War is still a fucking great book. Godzilla Half Century War, still like one of the best comics.
That can also go in the death match. Right. So Jenny Zero, it's a good book. It has good things. But I didn't quite enjoy it as much as Becstar, because Becstar is just more fun and it plays about with its tropes. And at the end of the day, in 2021, which is, I've already said, a terrible year, I like a bit of escapism. And that was that for me. And also, because 2021 is so far a terrible year, Eve was a breath of fresh air in that there is hope in the future. And, maybe that will, come to light. And it feels hopeful. And I need a bit of that as well. Good characters. I related to Eve, just, in the whole talking to yourself thing. Wexler's really nice. It's nice art. I really want to see where Eve goes. I want to see where Becstar goes. I want to see where Jenny Zero goes. Marjorie Finnegan, she can just get lost in space and time, and I probably won't care, but there you are.
There we have it, the consensus. So this month we have proven that we are right.
I think this is the last ever episode, because we had to end on this sort of note of conviviality and agreement.
We've achieved what we set out to all those many months ago, was to finally agree on 4 things in a row, and by God, we've done it.
It will never happen again.
It's been a blast.
So goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Going to go walk into the ocean now.
So on this bombshell,
on this very special episode,
mark this on your calendars.
we have been Angela, Matt, Will, and Zach, Bigger Than Capes collectively, and I think today we have proven that comics are
bigger than
capes.